Hi, it's Monifa with your Gene Key transits for the full moon in Taurus. And this is the partial solar eclipse on October 28th. So yeah, so it's been crazy over here, you guys, in this last 2 weeks, maybe even more. Like most of this month, really, for me has been super transitional. So if I get a little personal this time, you know why. It's because when you are having a lot of movement within your own life, it's hard to focus on others. And so even more so, like when I'm talking about business and I'm talking about other people's business, I always want to be right there in the room feeling them when I'm offering advice. So it's always a little complex, right? Trying to give wisdom advice over the computer, right? Over to masses, because really what it takes for us specifically is quite different. And what that truth is for you is quite different, right? And so that's a lot of what even is in the air around this full moon. So, if it takes me on a tangent, I hope that you will go with me a little bit because not everything is straightforward. I know we were raised to believe that that's the way it goes and that's the way it should go, but it's just not true. It's just not true. And there's no perfect right way of doing something. There's no perfection in an end product. That's not a reality. It's a desire. It's an ideal, but it's not something that ever actually happens because as soon as you have it, you want to shift on to the next thing. So what does it look like in times of fluctuation when we are recalibrating what what our desires are and our goals and our small pillars that lead us to the big end goal, right? Um, and how important is it? So my thing is that because we aren't super clear on what the end product is going to be, even when we have detailed and put it all out and all of that detail work that so many recommend, the process on the way there doesn't look like that. Even if it's super close at the end, the process on the way there is not that, right? So how do you know you're on the right track? How do you know when we know what to choose moving forward? I was talking to one of my speakers. We're having the Voicing Your Vision Summit coming up on November 13th through 17th. It will be fantastic. I hope to see you there. Remember to put the link in the information below. So what we get when we are bringing people together like that is that understanding that balance, or even the idea of balance. And that, to me, a balance is such another word for perfection because there's no ultimate balance. It really matters very specifically where you are, what you need, what's coming next for you, and all the different facets of your life and energy of those creations and all around you, including your relationships and your um, what you are seeing as inspiring. All of those things, well, maybe not for everybody. Some of us are more constant than others, but for a lot of my folks, we're creative thinkers. We have a ton of ideas. We're inspired by almost everything. And so it can bring in an amalgamation that balance never looks that close, right? It's an aspiration, but not something that we are expecting at any given moment, right? And the reason for that is because balance, the truth about balance is that you are sensing what needs more support in order for the the constant or the stability to be maintained, right? And so it looks different. Sometimes it looks like doing more of something, not balancing it. Okay. And so that is what's tricky. That's what's tricky. And that's, in my weird way, is what's going on with the full moon in Taurus this week. Taurus is about, well, now that I think about it, Taurus is stability. It is our longstanding structure, right? So that's how I think of it, what we hold in value over a long period of time. And it is really feeling like it what I need to sustain and continue to support me for the rest of my life looks completely different, is oppositional to what I want to do when I'm actively desiring to for outcomes in all of this, right? And what's so interesting is that what we want to do, I feel like in a lot of ways, in that Scorpio feeling is to dive deeper, right? Um, we want to dive deeper, right? We know there's more to figure out, even though we've learned so much in this last short period of time. Not short, but over this last year. It's kind of short, depending on what age you are. We've learned so much. We've changed so much. We are so different than how we started out at the beginning of this North Node cycle. So it's been a journey already. And yet we know we kind of need some space to do a little bit deeper dive, a deeper understanding. We want to clarify some things. And that's what I think this energy is about. It's about starting to peel back what is making things murky. And all of it may be inspiring, but all of it is not relevant. Right? To right now and to what is clear is needed in order to sustain moving forward. And that spleen to sacral, that center movement in the human design chart. So the 27 is from the spleen and the channel goes to the 50 on the sacral. And so it's what it's doing is trying to give energy, give source movement to what sustains us as a to live to as to live and be alive. Okay, and the 27 I Ching is nourishment, right? The wonderful amino acid here is leucine. So for those of you who know a little bit more about that, you can see how those amino acids are playing a role in our DNA structure, and it'll show you a very similar version of what's going on, of how we are nourished, right? Ring of life of death. So that's the codon ring that is attached to in the DNA structure. So it basically is telling us what is necessary to live, what is necessary to die, right? As part of those components. It's a pretty meaty, I think it's octagon. I could be wrong, but it's a meaty ring. There's a lot of keys on there. So there's a lot involved, obviously, to live and die. It's a whole cycle thing. And what it gives us is this desire to do what keeps us alive. And now, every time we have that conversation, we're talking about fear, right? We're talking about what are we afraid of, because most of us are afraid of dying, right? So how is that fear showing up in our choices throughout our life is really what's coming up here. Okay. And if you're anything like me, it's being exaggerated so that you can get clear, right? So it's not always a fun process. One of the things that the 27 accentuates um, in a way that other maybe Taurus feelings don't, is this sense of responsibility. We often are seeing what is going wrong and we want to either fix it or ignore it, right? It's kind of ignoring is just kind of a repressed movement to not deal, but it's really to save our emotions that we make those choices, right? So what do you need to nourish you and your emotions so that you can face your fears, right? And that is not just for you, that's for your clients and those you serve as well. So Karen Curry Parker calls this to care without over caring, which I love. It's how she starts the moon information this time. And I just love that because as a Cancer Sun and Moon, Scorpio rising, I tend to care and then I tend to self-protect by not caring. Right? So it's a very personal, cycle for me. It's a pattern, right? And so how are we over caring and how can we care without overdoing it so that we feel like we have to reverse and back away and not do anything and not care at all, right? And part of the way that we do that, thank you, Karen Curry Parker, is to share responsibility. So, what things are you so sure sit and rest on your shoulders, right? That we could share the responsibility for, right? And so that is what's coming up. And then what I see in a lot of my clients, and when I'm shifting now to how do we share this with others? How do we use this as content, right? Like this is one of the hard parts because Gene Keys is a deep dive. It's not surface information, but it's telling us the source and purpose of the energy at play. And that is what we're here to do. Like if we can tap into that, we can tap into our to the level of impact and we can maximize essentially our presence and fully experiencing the energy available, right? And that is what we're here for. We're here for the experience. So when we are clear on that, then we can allow for more of that experience instead of holding into fear and uncertainty. Uncertainty is guaranteed. So what we need are tools to remind us of what is stable, where is stability within ourselves, and how to nourish that. And I'm going back to nourishment. So that's huge. How are we nourishing our clients, and how are we allowing them to take responsibility to nourish themselves? This is a big thing for me because people in the voice arena are often not allowing themselves to be well supported because they have traditionally not seen themselves, their work, their genius supported in our current social dynamic. But it's changing and it's changing fast. And so what I'm asking them to do is to continue to open to the reality and the possibility of being more supported, right? To help share the responsibility. And that includes in your business. For your clients, I want you to share the responsibility of doing the work, of getting what they need from you, of um, following up, right? Help them share the responsibility. And when you're sharing responsibility, you have to be clear on how you're sharing on what you want them to be responsible for because things are changing. Whenever things are changing, we need more communication so we clearly can envision where we're going if we're going together. We may not be. We may decide to go our separate ways in the change, but that's okay too, right? But if we communicate it clearly and we understand that there's still love there, regardless of what that looks like, then we all are all served. Okay. So what would happen when we aren't willing to share the responsibility is codependency and martyrdom. Okay. That's huge, right? Because I know you've had these conversations before, people who are listening to me right now. I know we've had the conversation of codependency. I know we've had the conversation of thinking that you have to sacrifice yourself, that there's no other way to do it, right? But to sacrifice yourself at a cross somewhere, right? And it's just not true because this is the truth of balance is to the recognition and awareness of where we need to be supported at any given time. And sometimes it's, this person over here in the community. Sometimes it's this sector over here in the community. It's not consistent. It's not always the same. This makes me think about like governmental policy and that kind of thing, because when we put into place systems to help people, and then we just leave them there. I think some of them, well, I mean, some of them do time out. There are some programs that are meant to time out for a reason, because they need to reevaluate and see what needs to be supported next, what needs more attention, right? And that is a way to, again, to have a sense of balance, because it's never just one place. We can have but the better our systems are, which our systems are being reformed right now. So that means that we have some work to do. And a good system has accounted for the possibilities and the unknown, and then kind of set people up to purview that, so that we can be in awareness of what's needed at any given part of the system, right? A good system does that. And so when I think of like how this means for your clients, what I'm thinking is that you probably, I'm going to go ahead because that's what I say. This, like, it depends on who I'm talking to here. So you have to check in with yourself, check in with how you feel, do some muscle testing, whatever it takes, but know for yourself if this is true for you, right? So essentially, are you holding your clients accountable for the responsibility they need for their own growth, right? Now, when you're sharing in your content, this is also the kind of the good time to tell them what their responsibility is. This is where, oh, and why people say, click the link in the bio, right? This actually makes me think, because I've been shortening it because that's what a lot of people are doing lately, because we know what it means. But the reality is we have to tell somebody the responsibility of themselves, right? If they want to move forward into closer relationship with us. If you want to move forward into closer relationship with me, you're going to need to click the link in the description box for Voicing Your Vision Summit, right? Like, if you want, so what are your instructions? What are you communicating so they are clear on their responsibility? This allows for, again, the next stage to be available. If you find that you're short, you feel like you're plateauing maybe in your coaching sessions, if you feel like you're plateauing in the amount of clients you're bringing in, if you feel like you're plateauing, then you haven't given them an entry point. So what's the entry point for your business, for your service, for your product? What is the entry point? And have you clearly communicated the client or the person's responsibility to enter in? Okay. And this is all really marketing is, but we often get bogged down by uh, questioning ourselves and not being and not thinking anything's going to work anyways. We think it's a us problem. That's why, I'm big on doing the us work of being connected and resourced within. And so we have to, in order to move through these things and have a sense of balance, so that we aren't doing all of the work, right? There's no need to worry about something that is somebody else's responsibility for, right? This takes a lot of pressure off people in business when they understand that you're allowed to give responsibility to somebody else. Yes, you're the manager. Yes, you get to come back and see how things are and where they're laying out and have they been done. But that doesn't mean that it's your responsibility the whole time, right? That means that there's a checkpoint to see if anything has changed or needs to change, and that the communication needs to change in accordance with that. And when we aren't feeling like we can speak to these things, then that's kind of what is holding up progress. It's holding up the progress. It's holding up our impact. It's holding up our energy to be shared with the world, right? So there's a lot about that. And that really is, what I want you to check it out. Like, what for your clients brings balance in the services that you offer? What does it look like? What does balance look like when you have the tools to bring things in, right? What does being nourished look like for your clients? Again, for mass people, it's a little different for everybody, right? But for your client, and I always think it's nice to think of somebody you do work with, or you want to work with, or who you love, or who you know you would love to serve, right? Think of somebody, because we want real thoughts, emotions, real people. And if you say ideal client, it feels really removed, right? And then people are like, oh, that just sounds so businessy and salesy and all the things. Well, it's not if you think of a real person. And if you have a hard time thinking of a real person, then that's a different problem, right? Because that's basically saying that you don't want to be seen that way, even though you're asking to be seen that way. This is a trouble with communicating clearly, is that you can say something out your mouth, but your energy isn't aligned, and therefore nobody is clear. Now, they may understand the words, but that doesn't mean they're going to do it, because a true transmission of communication is clarity and movement, is what happens next. So, anyways, all that to say, like we want to find alignment and resonance within ourselves before we try to influence others, and that's often the breakdown too. So that's again what's so important about knowing your voice, and knowing when your voice is aligned to what you're saying and when it's not, right? um and then it's not for you to go talk to somebody, it's for you to go do some inner work over there somewhere. Right? How are you nourished? So, what do you need from your clients? What responsibilities do you need your clients to take care of for you to feel nourished, right? And that's a true evaluation. We're always thinking, well, they're evaluating me for my service, so let me be the best person that they've ever seen before, which is no. Uh, but the reality is that you should also be evaluating your potential clients. Are they the right client for you? Will it be a valued interaction for you in your day? You really want to know these things, and that doesn't mean they have to be perfect, because that's what you're there for, is to help them. But the question is, are they the right fit? That's why people ask that. Are we the good fit? That's why small business owners, well, the people who are acting in, well, I don't want to judge, but but I see part of integrity in business as noticing when you are essentially how you're interacting with the other person. Okay. Like if you are somehow wanting something that you're not willing to say, right? Are you are you truly enjoying the time with them? Are you pretending that you like them? Like to me, those are integrity issues. And so we need to know enough about ourselves to know who the right client for us is, so that when we are making those connections, we are enjoying it, they're enjoying it, and they are your best customers. They're going to tell other people, they're going to stick around, they're going to, like, that's the people you want. The other people are the ones that complain and want why can't I get more of a discount, and all that that stuff happens when we aren't in integrity on what it takes for us to be nourished. Okay. So I feel a little preachy, but I feel like that's the energy too. The programming partner here, what makes it all work, right? Is I'm kidding, but the programming partner here is the 28th in Scorpio, right? So the 28th gene key, I'm sorry, in Scorpio, purposeless, totality, immortality. I'm sorry, did I give you the gene key? Okay, the shadow of the 27 is selfishness. When we aren't allowing people to take their responsibility, that in itself is selfish. So you're the only one that gets to be leader. You never share that responsibility. Yeah. Okay. Altruism is the gift. Generosity comes in the giving of effect as well. When you allow somebody to be responsible for something, then you're giving them the power of decision. That's altruistic, right? Selflessness is the city. So the service to all is when we are all selflessly giving and receiving and receiving. Okay. So the programming partner here is purposelessness, this totality, immortality. That's Gene Key 28. So it is often that, like if we are trying to receive our purpose from the client that says yes, this is more inner work than content work, right? But it is just what it is right now, right? So if we are trying to have purpose by being of service, this is basically a validation game that a lot of my clients play. It's like, well, if I'm being of service, then I deserve to make money. Then I deserve to be supported because I'm being of service. No, no, no. You're inherently worthy. You're inherently worthy of love and full protection and full support. Inherently. I don't care if all you're doing is laying down and breathing, right? Because you're giving carbon to the trees outside, they appreciate you, right? Like you are inherently of service. So if you're trying to validate making money, being of use to society, all those things, then we actually are subverting our purpose. Our purpose is who we are. We are already doing the thing that we're supposed to be here to do. We are the energy that the world needs right now, period. We don't need to do anything about that. So when we shift out of that purposelessness, we allow for totality. Okay. The totality is that we're always a purpose. There's everything has a purpose, nothing has a purpose, right? Everything is important and nothing's important, right? When we can live in that balance, then we can allow nourishment to show up as needed, wherever it needs to happen. Immortality is being always effective, total, complete, always, right? Through the generations, through legacy, service to all, right? The channel completion here, as it goes to 50, what it wants, what it's seeking, what it's wanting to coordinate with is this shadow of corruption, the gift of equilibrium, and the city of harmony. And in that movement, we're getting this, this the reality that in involving all of the system, it gives you exposure to a corrupt point at any point. So like this one references being copies of copies of genes handed down. And when you do that with like a Xerox machine and it gets all blurry, for those of you who are younger, if you like took a stamp and you tried to keep stamping, like eventually if you that next copy is going to be blurrier than the first one eventually, right? And that's just what happens when you keep copying. So what do we need is an infusion of the current a new copy. So when I was an admin, I used to keep the original, right? And some people even put a little mark, or they put a sticker, or they put a clip right on the original, so that you don't not taking a copy to make more copies. You're using the original to make more copies. And then if you need more copies, you go back to the original. So you're the original. You're the original. Yeah. This is depends on where you are on this one. 50 is Libra to Scorpio. So it's like this. Oh, did I get the wrong? Oh well, it is what it be. I'm speaking more about the words right now, right? Anyways, but yeah, corruption, equilibrium, harmony. So equilibrium is again, like 27 isn't balanced. 50 is. So if you're trying to get 50 out of 27, then you may have some conflicts, right? You may need external resources. So you may need more support, more partnership, more of something to create that equilibrium, right? That's a different expression than 27, where the nourishment actually is an awareness of what is desired in the moment. Okay. What I love, I'm going to bounce back to the programming partner. What I love about the programming partner of Gene Key 28 is that the subtitle there is embracing the dark side. So the purposelessness, right, that allows us to be selfish because we don't want to give anybody our leadership like a baton, right? um, that feeling is essentially like, well, no, well, maybe not. Maybe the embrace the queendom. Maybe, sometimes I think of it as diva. Like diva expects to be supported because they're gonna go out and do some amazing freaking work. They know that they need to be supported at a certain level for them to be the amazingness that they are, right? So what does that look like for you? Can you embrace the dark side of the, the all being true, all of who you are being of purpose and on purpose? Can you embrace that? All the totality? Can you? Because it includes the dark side, it includes the bad stuff too, the stuff that you can't do, the stuff you don't want to do. I don't feel like it, right? If you are that person, embrace it. It's going to lead you to what you do feel like doing when you honor that. All right, y'all. This is what I got for you. It's all I got. It's all I got today. And I just want to give you lots of love in this time. I know it's bringing up a lot of stuff. And I invite you to continue to be supported through me, by my work on my channel, and at the Voicing Your Vision Summit. Click the link below to join us in the conversation of what it takes to voice your vision. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate you being here. And if I don't see you in chat on YouTube, then I'd love to see you at one of my events. Check my links in the comments.